Hello and welcome back to ChäoS Head Noah. My name is Maybe Dennis, and last time we started off by having a confrontation with Sua, where he was just throwing a lot of stakes at us, you know, those stakes that happened to the crucified. And after getting hit by a whole metric shit ton of them, we did the Uno reverse card and switched places with him, so he ended up killing himself essentially. And then we continued on and pressed on to go to Noah 2. And on the way, we went through a tunnel where we found our next adversary, which was Seraton. Not just Seraton, but Seraton and Seraton and Seraton, because there were like hundreds of them. I think he said it was literally in the triple digits. And after a grueling fight that involved losing like even his arm, Takumi ends up kind of deluding himself to remembering that they're 2D and not 3D, and then they end up just being defeated that way. And then we finally make our way towards Genichi Narose, where he pulls out his D-sword, which was the cross that was being used to hold up both Nanami and Rimi, and he just kind of like hit us several times. We deflected, and there wasn't really much to the fight. I mean, Rimi ended up being let go from the cross because he needed his sword, but we end up trying to hit Noah 2 just to find out that we can't do it because it keeps turning us around. Apparently there's a self-defense mechanism that allows Noah 2 to just kind of Uno reverse us so that we end up not hitting it. And then after almost being killed by Narose, Rimi steps in, and then Takumi, instead of being appreciative of it, starts getting delusions about what he wants his last moments to be. One of his extremely delusions makes him like essentially attempt to, let's just say R-word Rimi. I don't want to say it. It's kind of uncomfortable. I think this is the first time I'm actually going to like censor something. But yeah, he essentially sexually assaulted Rimi, or at least tried to, before he regained consciousness and, you know, stopped himself. But now he has apparently a delusion of a giant stake stuck up his ass because of some delusion countermeasure that was used against him. And that's the position we're in. Apparently Genichi Naruse said like, alright, this is like one of the worst forms of torture. We're gonna stick this up your butt, or up your whatever, and it's gonna be there for like 3 days, so you have to endure that. I'm going to enjoy watching you suffer. So that's where we are right now. I'm gonna play this till the end of the first ending. I don't know how long it is. Hell, I might even combine this with the last episode if it ends up being super short. But yeah, last episode stuff, it was kinda, I don't know what the right word is. Uncomfortable? It made me feel uncomfortable. But we're so close to the end, I'm just gonna try to go through it. So, let's head in. How much time had passed? There were no clocks around me. I couldn't tell. I want to see a clock, but if I did, the slowness of the seconds passing would break me. I gritted my teeth. A waterfall of sweat was pouring off my body. My throat felt parched. I quenched it with the blood that would sometimes work its way up from my stomach. And inside my body, I could feel the stake working its way gradually up, digging deeper inside me. I could feel it inside me. It was a countdown to death. At some point, it would work its way up to what remained in my chest, come through my windpipe, and out my mouth. That is a very, very bad delusion. The pain and fear were making me crazy. Every 5 minutes, I would pass out from the pain and wake up again. What I learned from that was that when I passed out, my body would relax and the state would go up even faster. Of course, the pain would get vastly worse, and the pain would wake me up. I would writhe from pain, unable to move, and then escape from it. I'd pass out. This horrible cycle repeated again and again. Even when I was awake, my vision was blurring. For some reason, the pain felt a little better. My vision was dim. I thought that maybe it was night, but there are no windows in the dome. That couldn't be it. It was probably from lack of blood, I thought. There were small amounts of blood trickling from my chest and my left arm. If only more would come out, I could die an easy death from blood loss before the stake had killed me. I had the idea of trying to move my crushed left arm, the one that no longer existed below the elbow. But it wouldn't move. The nerves were probably already dead. Boo. Bia bia bia. Okay, yeah, he's going crazy. Was this really a delusion? When would it end? Would it really end? What proof did I have to begin with when I thought it was a delusion. How could I tell it was a delusion? What if it was real? I could endure all I want, and I'd still just die. There's no point in trying to endure it. Why was I doing it anyway? I was a moron. An idiot. A total idiot. Die. I meant to do that too. It wasn't just something I was saying. I should just die now. I'm sick of the pain. Sick of the suffering. I should just bite my tongue off clean off. And then it would all be over. Just let me go. This is a delusion, right? No. More blood came from my chest. I ceased to be able to breathe. No matter how much I tried to suck in oxygen, all I did was make a strange, ridiculous whistling sound with my throat. I could see the stake poking up through the wound on my chest. I spat out blood. I opened my mouth again and again in search of oxygen. I felt relieved. I could die soon. I heard Norose's voice. I could sense him right in front of me. But he was nowhere to be seen. My eyes couldn't see anything now. I've been suffering, impaled on the stake for so long that I'd totally forgotten about him and Rimi. Was Rimi still nearby? It didn't matter, though. I was busy trying to breathe. For a while now, I've been using all of my strength and nerves to do that. Uh-oh. It's like the reason he came was to try to save Rimi, and not only did he traumatize her, but now he's also gonna get her killed. I didn't understand what he was saying. I didn't have time to think. Ooh. I could hear her dying screams. I heard the sound of somebody falling. She'd been shot and killed, I thought. I felt no emotion. I was too busy. I went back to my job, trying to breathe. And then I was stunned at myself. What was the point of all this? Why was I trying so hard to breathe? This wasn't fair. I felt something hot run down my cheeks. Maybe I was crying, but I had no way to know. I'd hung in there for 3 days, and I was almost at the end, and I'd lost her. I'm sorry, Rimi. I was the one who should apologize. I couldn't protect you. There was no sense in living anymore. I released all the tension in my body. I could feel myself sinking faster. Something was in my throat. I couldn't breathe at all. It was rising up. Oh, he has his senses again, so that was all delusion caused by the Torianse Noah 2 thing. I came back to my senses. The sense of having something inside my body disappeared. I wasn't impaled. The only blood was on my chest and left arm. How much of that had been a delusion? My brain processing speed couldn't keep up. I couldn't understand what was going on. Norose was in front of me, D-sword held high. Only 1 second. What did he do? Like the Tsukiyomi? Did he do like the Itachi Sharingan thing? Oh man, that's awful. I whispered, relieved. Oh. Norose's D-sword came down like a hurricane. My top half fell away from my bottom half. My vision tilted. From the waist down, I was still standing. From the waist up, I was falling. My body had been sliced in two. The cut was unbelievably clean. I stared at my lower half, confused. I didn't want to admit this could be real. Was this a delusion? I hope it was a delusion. Please be a delusion. Okay, so she's still alive. Okay. But we aren't. Rimi was calling my name. She sounded so sad.
その状態でも死ぬまで数分は持つはずです。元医師である私が言うのだから確かですよ。その間にコードサンプルを取ることにしましょうか。
How exactly do you get a cold sample? It made it sound like he was gonna get some of his DNA, but I don't think that's it. I crawled. I moved my body forward using just my right hand towards Rimi's voice. I want to touch her. I have to save her. Rimi! Right hand. Forward. 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 I stretched it out. But I didn't know where Rimi was. I couldn't reach her. I couldn't reach anyone. Whoa! Crunch! The sound of cracking bones. Norose's leather shoe had come down on my extended right hand.
さすが化け物と言うべきですか。
そのノロセの足が蜃気楼のように揺れた。
Oh, now we're gonna use Noah 2. The Noah 2 thing got so much like clearer. I was just about to say after he said that his thing, like, I don't know how we're gonna get a good ending out of this. This seems pretty awful. Maybe the first ending is the bad ending because it's like the mandatory ending, and then we're gonna try to figure out how to get a better ending through all the other endings. But it seems like we're very fucked. Things aren't going great. I don't really know how this is supposed to turn out. Norose's legs start to shimmer in the air like a mirage.
床のタイルの模様がぼんやりとし始めて。
The patterns on the floor tile start to blur.
天地が回転する。
Heaven and earth spun.
床と天井が逆になる。
Floor and ceiling were reversed.
僕は天井に這いつくばっている。
I was clinging to the ceiling.
両断された腰からものすごい勢いで血が噴き出す。
Blood was pouring from my severed torso.
全開にした蛇口のように。
Like a faucet opened all the way. So I decided to read this because I felt like it was going to be his last major upset that he was going to pull up against, I was going to say against Nozomi, but I mean Norose. But,
血が体から抜けていく。
The blood was draining from my body. I don't know what this is going to accomplish.
そのまま腕の傷口を通って内臓までが流れ出る。
Even my organs start to pour out from the wound in my arm.
意識がスーッと遠くなる。
I started to black out.
でも完全には途切れない。
But I couldn't black out all the way.
血だまりができて。
A puddle of blood formed.
僕はその深紅の海に身を横たえている。
I was lying in its crimson sea.
ドクン、ドクンと鼓動する心臓が
A beating heart.
僕の目の前に転がっていて、
Right in front of me.
血だまりに波紋を作り、
Ripples formed in the pool of blood.
その波紋をぼんやり見ていたら、
I stared at it in a daze. So he essentially watched himself get dismantled.
形が崩れた。
And I lost my shape.
人としての形を維持できない。
I ceased to be able to maintain my human shape.
僕と世界との境界が消失する。
The boundary between me and the rest of the world disappeared.
肉が溶け。
Flesh melted.
骨がゴムのように曲がり。
Bone bent like rubber.
眼球は四角になり。
Eyeballs became square.
口から裏返った肺がこぼれ出し。
My lungs turned inside out, spilling out from my mouth.
神経は数万キロメートルも引っ張られ。
My nerves were stretched out 1,000,000 kilometers.
脳はシワの一つ一つを丁寧に伸ばされ。
Every wrinkle in my brain was carefully flattened out.
体はブヨブヨになる。
My body turned to jelly. I wonder why he decided to like actually narrate this part. I was melting in the air.
右手が糸のように伸びて。
My right arm stretched out like a thread.
プラネタリウムを出てい
Where
た。
are we? Out of the planetarium.
それは飴細工のように
I wandered the skies of Shibuya.
渋谷の空をさまよって
Like cotton candy.
コーネリアスタワーにくるくる
It wrapped itself around and around Cornelius Tower.
巻きつく
Wrapped.
何度も
Around and around and around.
何度も
Around and around.
何度も
And around and around. Is he becoming part of everything?
分かれた足が膨れてる
My legs start to plump up.
ブクブクと
Plump, plump.
水風船みたい
Like water balloons.
パンパンに
Balloons,
皮
balloons.
膚が伸びて
My skin stretched.
ギチギチ音を立ててる
It made a stretch sound. Okay, this is going on longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be like a few lines, and it would be kind of epic to read it after each one of them, but now it's just going a lot longer than I expected.
液状化
Was I liquid?
肉も
My meat,
骨も
my bones,
とろけて
they melted
ふくらは
into
ぎに溜まってる
a puddle at my calves.
腰からニョキって小さな頭が生えて
A tiny head went pop as it appeared out of my waist.
ぎょろりとした白い目が僕を見たよ
Its big white eyes looked around and then at me. Did he make a delusion, the real boot like
そ
himself?
したら僕の頭がぐしゃって潰された
And then my head went splurt.
どっちの頭かはよくわかんない
I don't know which head though.
潰れてトロトロになって
It was crushed and it got all messy. This is
ビルの床
weird.
コンクリートの分子の隙間を抜けて
This is really weird. So he's essentially deluding himself to seeing the process of his body breaking down and turning into a whole bunch of other things. I don't know why. I don't know if it's his doing. I don't know if it's Neurose's doing. But he is essentially losing all sense of self at this point, I think. It sank through the floor of the building, through the gaps in the concrete molecules.
落ちていく
And it fell.
地上へ
All the way to the ground.
ビューって
Drip, drip, drip.
地面に作る
And when it hit the ground,
どろりとした
it made a
脳
puddle
みその水たま
of
り
ooey gooey brains.
もぞもぞ
Oh my god, how much longer?
もごもご
Rustle, rustle.
ジュルジュル
Chew, chew, slurp,
Doro.
slurp. Ooey
プ
gooey.
ルプル
Shake, shake.
ビヨンビヨン
Bounce,
ビ
bounce.
チャビチャ
Drip, drip.
ぐじゅぐじゅ
Splurt, splurt.
ぐちゃりぐちゃり
Crunch, crunch.
僕は二つになる
There are two
二
of
つが
me.
四つになる
Now two becomes four.
四つが八つになる
So is the thing on the screen supposed to be his brain matter? And now it's splitting into like exponents of two. Now four becomes eight.
八つが四つに
Eight becomes four. Never mind, we're going backwards.
二つが八つ
Two
に
becomes eight.
四つが四つ
Four
に
becomes four.
どんどん増えて
More and more appeared.
どんどん
More
減
and
る
more disappeared.
僕がいっぱい
Lots of me.
僕がいない
None of me.
僕は何
What am I?
僕って何
Just what am I?
何って僕
Am I what?
僕
I?
何
What?
何区がナボに
What am I?
ナボ
What?
に
It.
なく
Ma?
お
I?
な
What?
君は妄想なんかじゃないよ。
れ
I?
だ
Oh?
見てごらん。
So Shogun's still alive. Time to use the power of everyone we've met.
西条七海が祈る 兄と共に収容された病院。怪我人があふれた待合室の片隅にうずくまり、実の兄のしわくちゃの手を握りしめて、右手の痛みに耐えて。
Yeah, I decided to just stop. I think now he's forming like correct sentences. I think I'm gonna stop.
目を閉じて祈る。もう一人の兄の無事を。
Oh,
楠木優愛が祈る。倒壊したビルの瓦礫。そこに埋もれるように横たわるコンテナの中で、彼の美少女フィギュアの一つを握りしめ
you know, you did say that you would give her your anime figures when you come back, so she's just getting ready, you know?
地震と火事で醜く変形してしまったフィギュアたちの姿に感じた胸の痛みに耐え、目を閉じて祈る。彼女を許してくれた少年の無事を。
Who's next? Ayase.
岸本綾瀬が祈る。避難所となっている水明学園。その校舎の屋上で空を見上げて、神話が書かれた文庫本を握りしめて。
Oh, she's got the Gladiol novel, probably. Okay, so we have spots for 3 more, which are going to be Kozupi, Senna, and Rimi, probably.
崩壊した渋谷を覆う不特定多数の妄想が見せる悪意の痛みに耐え、目を閉じて祈る。彼女の歌を、彼女の話を聞いてくれた少年の無事を。
So we're gonna take all the prayers and form ourself again, and then it'll show that like all the things we did weren't just a delusion. Kozupi da
折原
yo.
梢が祈る。新鮮駅の薄暗いホーム。青い瀬名の震える手を握りしめて、足の傷の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る。心の声で語り合ったクラスメートの少年の無事を。
That's gonna be Senna.
青い瀬名が祈る。横たわる父の傍らに座り、父の冷たくなった手を握りしめて、最後まで素直になれなかった後悔の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る。彼女のお願いに不器用ながら答えようとしてくれた少年の無事を。
Oh, there we go.
咲畑りみが祈る。
So here we have a picture of all the girls in the series, and I believe all of them are supposed to get their own ending too. So I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this. I think there are 8 endings where I think each one of these girls gets an ending. The ending we're currently on, so that would make it 6 plus 1, and then the true ending, so that would make it a total of 8. I think.
冷たい床に横たわりながら、彼へ伸ばした自らの手をきつく握りしめて、傷だらけの彼の姿を見て感じた。締め付けられるような胸の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る。
Enduring the pain she feels in her heart. What? Okay, yeah, we're kind of in like 2 pieces now, maybe more.
自分が守ろうとした。自分を助けに来てくれた少年の無事を。
The prayers charge the spirit bomb.
僕は何もできなかった。君が行動したんだ。その結果としてみんなが君のことを見てきた。君という周囲共通認識はとっくに出来上がっているんだ。これからは、いや、もうすでに君こそが
You are the real Takumi Nishijo.
僕は君は誰
I wonder if he's gonna say Takumi Nishijo or Shogun at this point.
僕はその声が聞こえた瞬間に
Real boot the self. Back to reality.
意識が僕を固定した。ぐちゃぐちゃにかき回されていた世界が一気に収束する。混沌が僕の理想度を形作って収束する。
Oh, we got the song in the background.
僕は僕としての形に戻る。世界は世界としての形に戻る。僕は僕だ。
Back to reality. My vision became clear again. Am I still in two pieces? My wounds were healed. Yes. My top and bottom were connected once more. I was standing on my own 2 feet. The pain was completely gone. My heart was completely at peace.
妄想によく打ち勝ったね。僕の最後の力を君に託す。
I'll entrust you. That's a very animating thing to say. I'll give you the rest of my power. I could see Rimi in the corner of my vision. She was safe. She was looking at me. She was crying. Don't cry. I gripped the D-sword's handle. I held it tight. I felt a sensation in my hand. My arms were moving. They were completely restored.
これは
Oh, I was curious about his reaction.
実に興味深いです。
I kind of wonder, so what exactly saved us or like helped us form ourselves again? It sounded like we had a delusion of us being whole again, and then we real booted it. I think that's what happened, but I'm not sure if it's our delusion or if it's Shogun's or if it's all of the Gigalomaniacs, all the girls, because they were praying for her safety, so they probably deluded everyone into thinking that Taku is still, you know, fine. And after real booting that, I'm assuming we real booted that, and then now we're unharmed.
この化け物。
I looked straight at Norose. How would you like a steak up your ass for 3 days? Time to make that a reality.
確かに僕は化け物だよ。
But this
でもこ
is...
れが
Oh, okay, that was a long pause. To save Rimi, to destroy Noah too.
僕が望んだ妄想だ。
Why did you need to do that? You were literally the same screen. You could just added his portrait on. Norose's response was fast. He still didn't have Takumi Nishijo's code sample. He thought he pushed the boy to the brink with a delusion attack, but now the tables had almost completely turned. He couldn't let that happen. Norose charged. He brought his D-sword up from below. He sliced it across Takumi's chest. The D-sword could cut through anything. It didn't matter what it was, cutting through humans was no more difficult than cutting through jelly. Norose's lightning-fast attacks had sliced Takumi into 2. But did you know 2 becomes 4, and 4 becomes 8, and 8 becomes 2, and... But there was no blood. Takumi's lower half almost fell. But it didn't. It was still standing. Boot it up again! And in the next moment, it regenerated. Uninjured, as if it never happened. And then he regenerated. The body that had been sliced apart just a second ago had already grown a new head, a new right arm, and a new right shoulder.
痛覚は遮断した。
Takumi took a step towards Norose. Norose grimaced. He flipped the D-sword over.
肉体の形を捨てたがゆえに。
Oh, that's what the point of it was. When he got sliced in half, he could feel his body essentially, I don't want to say melting, but like just losing its shape, and now he doesn't have a shape, so no matter how much he cuts him, it doesn't matter.
いかなる形をも取れるということですか。
あんたの見せてくれた妄想のおかげだよ。
He hadn't been able to maintain his shape as a human, but he had taken that delusion and made it his own. Yeah, so that delusion up until Shogun had said something, was essentially Genichiro or Genichi Neurose's last like nail in the coffin into destroying Takumi's mental state. He made him forget himself, essentially. He wasn't regenerating, he was replenishing. The lost parts were made from infinitely multiplying dust inside of him, formed into flesh and bones. This song is pretty good. Is it by Ito Kanako? I think that was the name. The one who did a lot of the Steins Gate music. I really like a lot of the things they made. I think it is. His shape wasn't fixed. Like an amoeba, like a slime, he could change it to be whatever he wanted. That was the reason Takumi had called himself a monster. His legs took another step towards Norose. Norose's frustration increased. He held the grip of his D-sword and stabbed it out towards the approaching Takumi. The huge scissors stretched out towards either side of the boy's head.
Do
you know all the damage you've already done to me? No, it doesn't matter no more. You've already lost. He crushed it, as one would smash a watermelon. Blood spurted everywhere. But Takumi's body kept going forward. The regeneration, replenishing, only took an instant. But his foot touched the ground, as if nothing when his foot touched the ground, as if nothing had ever happened. As if it had been replaced with a new one. His head was there, undamaged. Norose understood. He couldn't win. No physical attacks with the D-sword would be effective. His enemy had taken his delusion attack, his attempt to deny their existence, and turned it into their advantage. In this moment, Takumi Nishijo was so far beyond human. So twisted in existence. So perfect a monster. But Norose couldn't give up. He thought of using Noa2's power to blast Takumi with countless anti-particles. Nothing could withstand collision with anti-particles without turning into negative matter and collapsing in on itself. I feel like this is gonna backfire and then he's gonna get hit. I don't know. I think that's what's gonna happen. If destruction from outside was impossible, then he would have to destroy his foe from within the inside.
そうなんだね。
Oh! Takumi had read Norose's thoughts. The light of Takumi's D-sword changed from red to black. Black flames shrouded the blade. It roared, it stretched out. It was as if it was a huge black snake. Oh, it's actually a snake this time, yes!
そして現れるの
Oh! You got some animation, I guess. It wandered the room, too big for the dome. It scraped against the roof. It scraped up against the floor, as if it was eating away at them both. Devouring them.
邪神の黒き大樹あらゆる崩壊を飲み込む
Yeah, who the hell wrote this book?
ことのできる
Did they like...
同質にして
were they a gigalomaniac? Okay, so swallows all destruction and can shatter the body of the King of Wicked Hearts. Because whoever wrote this book was a goddamn seer. I'm starting to wonder if Shogun wrote this book and just sent it to the past somehow. Because it feels like he can do some shit like that. The snake's body was composed of anti-particles. Particles which would cause anything they touched to collapse in on itself. It was an all-devouring torrent of destruction. Aha! Aha! Your idea, it's mine now. I have the anti-particles. Can you take it?
触手芸はあんまり好みじゃないけど
Good one. Tentacle games. Games where girls suffer a variety of terrible fates at the hands of tentacle monsters. Do not play if you're under 18. Yes, the tentacle stuff. Takumi swung his D-sword where he stood. He pointed the tip at Norose. Take this! Snake of the darkness flame! The circling snake snapped its body like a whip and its jaws bit down on Norose.
まさかこれほどとは
Oh, this sounds so anime now. You know, you can't be this powerful. I underestimated you. Norosei had never seen a D-sword do something like this. He couldn't tell if it was Takami's delusion or some hidden gigalomaniac power. Black fangs were eating away at his body. He was falling apart. But it was so slow, like a frog slowly being devoured in the belly of a snake. The darkness was slowly swallowing him up. He felt no pain. Death should have been instant. But Takami did not want that. Norosei realized this and laughed bitterly. He wasn't afraid of death. His ideal, the completion of Noah 2, was at hand.
私を殺してもノア2には誰も近づけない永久期間なんですよそれは
Perpetual motion machine.
人類を未来永劫にわたって管理し続ける
So let's see what the definition of that is. An engine which operates forever without any kind of external energy input. Oh, okay. So just keep going and going.
眺めているだけではない人の幸福のために干渉してくる人工の神なのです
It won't just sit there silently. Artificial god. In a way, Norosei was a creator of a god. As long as Noah 2 existed, humanity would not go extinct. Norosei's utopia would be realized. But
あんたなら近づけるんでしょ
the snake holding Norosei began to move. It raised his body up high.
それならあんたは鍵だ
Norosei's expression was one of pure shock, but was quickly changed into one of pain. The snake flung his body around in a circle like it weighed nothing. Takami gave a quick glance at Rimi. Their eyes met. Wait, so I don't know if this portrait is accurate, so I don't know if she actually has her clothes on. But I hope she does, and that was all Takami's really messed up delusion. What was she thinking right now? It would be easy to read her mind, but Takami didn't. Looks like I was able to save you. He quickly looked away. His gaze was now fixed on Noah 2, still emitting its roar, the seat of God which had none could approach. A cradle that showed happy dreams.
ごめん
He whispered to no one in particular.
僕は人類にとっての敵かもね
This machine would create an internal paradise. A feature without conflict. I mean, sure, it could do that if it wasn't in the hands of someone who plans on, like, fucking it up. And now Takami was about to ruin that future. Whether that was wrong or right, Takami didn't know.
でも神話でもよくあるでしょ神だって女絡みでうだうだやってる
Okay, yeah, that's true. You see it in Greek mythology that, like, the gods really messed up and just blamed the humans. Usually for a girl.
だから僕も
Sacrificing humanity's happiness for the sake of the girl he loved. Takami drew the hand which held his D-sword back behind his back.
突き破れ
Whoa, he looks very low res. Maybe we're gonna zoom out after this. So he just shoved him into Noah 2, and then he thrusted it forward like a spear. The black snake charged forward in a straight line. Its prey, Norosei, was impaled on its fang as it raced towards Noah 2. A spear of pure anti-particles. It had no will of its own, thus there was nothing for Noah 2 to disrupt. The all-encompassing torrent of destruction used Norosei as its key and easily broke through the delusion barrier. Alright! Norosei said, only I can be here. Only I can approach it. He was like, alright, then you approach it, bitch! So that's the end of the Noah 2, I think. Huh. That was kind of a Deus Ex Machina ending. Ooh, we're back to the beginning, I think. At some point, it must have started to rain. There was a violent explosion. The shockwave picked me up like a rag doll and sent me flying. The next thing I knew, I was here. Those eyes were always watching me. Their gaze passed through the thick black rain clouds, and it came down on me like rain. Don't look at me. More than the rain's chill, The cold of the rubble beneath my back made my body shiver endlessly. It's so cold. And the gaze that bore into me from above the sky, whose was it? I don't know. I lifted my head a little and looked around, seeking a way to escape it. I saw the shattered remains of a city. I saw despair. I saw death. So now it's just auto-scrolling. I saw nothingness. Nobody was there. Nobody was moving. Nobody was alive. Was the rain going to keep falling? Until it washed everything away, or away everything, and the living and the dead. Until I had gently submerged everything and swept it away? Part of me hoped that this was all just simple delusion, but I guess I wasn't so lucky. My body refused to move. The only thing that I could move were my head and my eyes, and just barely that. I couldn't use the monstrous power I just used a moment ago. My body was shaking, but that was just an involuntary reflex. It wasn't my will. I didn't want my body to shake. If my body wouldn't listen to me, then it wasn't really my body at all. Maybe it never listened to me in the first place. Nobody knows where the soul is really kept after all. So, who could be sure that my soul was really inside this body? But if that was the case, then where was I? Was I here? Was I nowhere? In this broken world where nothing moved, I suddenly heard a sound that wasn't the rain of death. A single someone came out from the nothingness. Oh, we saw... who are you? We saw Rimi stab him here in the opening. Do you look so pale? Because you're cold? Or because you're dead? But she wasn't shivering. And her eyes, which were hidden, were almost completely beneath her bangs. Don't look at me. They looked so sad, but they also seemed filled with madness. They seemed like they weren't seeing anything at all. If maybe the only things in the world were her and me, and we kept looking at one another like this forever. Would my world be only what was reflected in her eyes? And would her world be only what was reflected in my eyes? In her eyes, I was reflected. In my eyes, she was reflected. When I thought about it that way, the world suddenly seemed so much smaller. Suddenly, I heard a static that sounded so pretty. Her head fell forward, and she spread out her hands. And as if she was about to take flight towards those rain clouds. As if she were trying to take all the rain into her hands.
あなたを見つめる妄想
With her head bent forward, I couldn't see the look on her face from where I said, like, what? Stayed. What do I look like behind the veil of, whoa, damn it, I missed it! I can't go back. Oh, wait, there we go. From where I laid, okay. The veil of rain between us.
殺してあげる
I'll give you your rest now. Uh-oh. An angel? Are those the wings of a light? A blessing upon me, or... That's a very pretty D-sword, I gotta say. Oh, now I see. I understand. You're going to use that to kill me, aren't you? Slowly, she dropped to her knees in front of me. She was still bent forward. She embraced my head gently. Take me into her arms. Oh wait, actually, I misread that. I felt relieved that she wasn't looking at me and let me take me into her arms.
殺さなくちゃいけないの
I mean, you don't have to. She whispered into my ear. The pretty static.
ごめんね
Oh, auto-scrolling stopped? Oh, no, there we go. There's no need to apologize. If I don't disappear, the other me, the real me, will die. So, this is for the best. If you're the one that erases me, that's all I need. It's a happy ending for a monster. I have no regrets. I felt something warm, soft, gentle, and sweet. It was like a drug. The faint sensation of her breathing tickled my cheeks. I smelled something so very sweet. Suddenly, I felt a pressure on my chest. A huge sword in her hands tore through the skin of my chest, ripped through the meat behind it, slid between the bones, and sank through my body. But her kiss was like a drug. I felt no pain. I remember this part. Suddenly, I felt sad, like my tears were going to start overflowing. And to stop myself, I looked over her shoulder at the dull, gray, rainy sky. Huh, that's how it ends. I don't really know what to say. That ending just was kind of sad and depressing. um, it was also really weird. It's definitely really weird. I have a lot to say about this game, actually. So first of all, at the end, I end up still not liking a decent amount of characters. It was, a lot of them were very distasteful for me. And, it was, a lot of the game was uncomfortable too. I mean, there are a lot of topics that are, topics that would make you uncomfortable, like suicide and rape. And all the delusions that Takumi had, they were indicative of his character, but also just a lot of his insecurities. I can understand why they did it, but it didn't stop it from making me feel like pretty bad about it. But at the end, I will say that like Takumi ended up being a better character than I thought. I still don't particularly like him, but his growth throughout the series really shows how much he hated himself and wants to fetish him arc. How much he wants to become a better person, but he just can't get over his own self-doubts and fears, and that's a very relatable thing. And I really hated his like delusions and how much of a creep he was. But his voice actor, like I hated his voice because Takumi was just, it was just really grinded on me. But the voice actor did a great job on making me hate him. So I have nothing bad to say about the voices in this game, other than maybe Kozupi. Hers kind of hurt my ear sometime. A lot of the heartfelt moments, I feel like did hit pretty well. They gave everyone a decent amount of backstory that made you like sympathize for them. Although I didn't really feel much for Kozupi as much. It wasn't really much showing. It was just kind of telling me like, yeah, she had a bad backstory. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure how satisfied I am with this. I wonder what other like directions the ending could have gone. I mean, I end up really enjoying Rimi's character. I understood her a lot more, and I end up still enjoying Senna's character, especially after seeing her backstory and her motivation for why she's so like cold all the time. It makes a lot of sense. I'm curious to learn more about the two of them. I feel like I still didn't really get a concrete answer to the crucified thing, but I'm sure that there is definitely an explanation in one of the routes. Oh man, but there's just so many other ones to go through. So that is the Silent Sky ending. Ooh. The CG library is now available. Sound library is now available. Movie library is now available. So I think now we have the choice to essentially do a New Game Plus-esque thing, but now we can actually make choices on delusions. So that'll be pretty cool, because before, every time we zoomed in, we didn't really have a choice, we just kind of went through with it. I'm not sure if they'll introduce to us how the delusion mechanic works, but I'm just not sure. Well, Oh man. I feel like this ending didn't really make me feel satisfied or happy, or a lot of the things. I liked how at the end, how Takumi took care of, Norose was using his own delusion against him, or the delusion that he used against Takumi against him, because now it gave him essentially gave him more power after he got over the trial, which is kind of funny. So I'm gonna go over every character I've seen so far. So Rimi, I've already mentioned. Senna, I've already mentioned. Nanami, I felt really bad for Nanami. I feel like overall, she was a character that really tried to help her brother, and all the things that she was doing that was annoying to Takumi's point of view was just, trying to help Takumi socialize, get out more, even if it, made him uncomfortable. I feel like maybe at one point she should have gotten like a hint, and maybe that wasn't the best for Takumi, but she was trying her best to help her brother, and I know Takumi found her really annoying, but I thought she was alright. And just the fact that she was actually captured and got her arm chopped off, oh, that was pretty bad. Yua, I still don't really have that strong of a opinion on her. At first she was I knew that she was gonna turn on Takumi, but I feel like she was absent for a majority of the story in the middle. That made me kind of forget about her presence at one point. And I wasn't very invested in her conflict, like her sister stuff and whatnot. I feel like once we go into her route, we'll find more, but at least I personally wasn't too invested. For Ayase, I thought she was a very interesting character because she was the person who, other than Senna, seemed to be the most in the know. She was one of the first people to show us her D-sword, as well as explain things to us. Although a lot of the things she explained were very both cryptic and just nonsensical to us, because it was all basically under the terms of a fantasy novel, so it didn't really help. But she was always trying to help Takumi whenever she had the chance. And I mean, we saw at the end how everything that was in that goddamn novel was actually basically true and came to fruition. I wonder how her ending's gonna work out, because it seems like her ending's just gonna be, yeah, that's right, this book is basically the book that tells the future. It's not really gonna make her seem any better if we're just gonna dive into her delusions. Senna, I kind of already mentioned before, like I said, but I really enjoyed Senna because I just really liked her character overall compared to the other ones. As a character overall, I wouldn't say head over heels for her. I don't think I was that way for any of the characters in this game, but she was definitely one of my favorites. Let's see, Kozupi. Kozupi, like I said before, I feel like we didn't really get to know enough about her because, well, she wasn't relevant until maybe the latter third of the game when she started talking to Takumi in his head. And like I said before, all of her backstory was just by the way, she has trauma, she has problems identifying herself, problems with mirrors, and yeah, and then after that, she was just kind of a sidekick to Senna after introducing the relationship. Yeah, it didn't really do much on that either. And I feel like with that, I covered most of the characters. Rimi, like I said, was, after all the things about her were cleared up, she was just a very sweet girl, and honestly, I can understand all the things that she was trying to, do. She was essentially trying to save Takumi and Taku, but because of Taku's existence, she literally could not help both of them, as well as her, PTSD with Genichi Narose, and he ended up being a pretty sadistic final big bad. I mean, putting a stake in them up their butt ugh, for 3 days, yeah, that's pretty bad. Narose as a final boss, I mean, he was trickled throughout the story, but I kind of wish we got a more, I don't want to say sympathetic, but I wish he wasn't so laughably villainous. I know that's trying to make him just more evil, but at the end, Takumi was I'm destroying this tool that could be used for the sake of people, for the good of the world, but that's not what the machine is going to be used for, so it really took a lot out of it. out of that climax. And Narose, yeah, he was just laughably evil. I think my other favorite character might be Bond. He was kind of slimy and honestly kind of creepy at some points, but it was really cool how he was able to just kind of deduce things. I like detectives in a lot of media that are competent, and he was definitely one of the more competent ones. It's unfortunate that he was backstabbed, or should I say shot by Sua. I really wish we got more details on some of the things that have happened, because at this point, I'm still not sure who pushed Takumi to do that thing at O-Front. There was the indication of the Darth Spider, which heavily, suggests Sua, but I mean, it showed the Shogun really wanted him to get his D-Sword too. And the final one I want to talk about is Takumi. Oh boy, Takumi. I understand that the point of the game was to kind of go through all of his delusions and show his growth and how he grew as a character at the end. But for, I want to say like 80, maybe 90% of the game, I still didn't really like it. He was doing a lot of things that really left a bad taste in my mouth, and I feel like until the last 2 episodes or so, I couldn't really get behind him, It wasn't. I'm okay with him being a coward. I'm okay with him being like an otaku or whatever. But I think it was just his honestly his kind of incel-y personality where he just kind of looks down on everyone in the beginning for not being him. It was just like, man, really? And maybe that was a self-defense mechanism to make him so that he didn't hate himself as much. But oh man, a lot of the things, a lot of the delusions that happened in his point of view were, I guess, believable. I mean, even the ending when he was trying to do something to Remy, it kind of makes sense from his point of view, but it really doesn't help me like him. In fact, it does the opposite. There are just so many negatives when I think about Takumi's character, at least for me, that make me just feel unbelievably uncomfortable with him. And I'm kind of surprised that the company would make a game from a point of view of this kind of character. Honestly, I feel like it ended up working alright, but I can't deny the fact that it made me feel uncomfortable for a lot of the game. But he did get better at the end, and I'm kind of curious whether or not having the ability to lean on certain delusions, on certain choices, will affect my opinion on him, because that's what I believe is how you get the other endings after going into this game again, which I guess I'll try. So if I click start, right? I start in the beginning of the game, and now would I I'm just gonna go through all of it. And oh my god, it's not skipping through all of it normally. So I guess it's just going straight to all the unread dialogue. Not all of it, it seems. But I wonder how we make the delusions choices, because I haven't actually had the opportunity to try any of that. I'm not sure what the game chooses to skip and what it chooses to not skip. Oh right, we had the choice here in the beginning. Huh. Well, I'll make another save. I wonder whether this choice will matter or not, because honestly, at the moment, I'm still on the fence on whether or not I want to do the other endings. This game was kind of painful to go through, and I'm also currently going through New Game Plus for Fate Samurai Remnant, and that was also a pain to go through a lot of the endings, or a lot of the New Game Plus stuff, because it took hours to get back to places where I had to find new content. Oh man. But if I do plan on doing another ending, I will try to follow a guide to make sure I get all the routes that I need to in order to get the true ending. Oh man, though, this game is kind of rough. I wonder if this choice, the swimsuit and glasses, will actually make a difference. Oh man, but yeah, about Takumi, I think I've said most of what I wanted to say. Honestly, one of the strongest aspects of this game was definitely the suspense and thriller parts. The parts that involve like you know, Shogun, the murders, trying to get a D sword, and like even the expedition dumped by like Senna or Ayase. It was really intriguing to me. I liked how they incorporated the mystery and what was gonna happen into the story. I just didn't really like the characters as much. And I do remember in Chaos Child, I ended up playing that game as well a long time ago. I did like this game, I did like the route that didn't involve any delusions. And it was a fun time. It was a really good mystery and had a lot of suspense. A lot of things didn't really make sense until near the end, where things started to connect. And it was really cool to see like the things that were in this game that were also in that game. After going through this game, I don't know if I'm ever gonna end up doing a let's play of Chaos Child on this channel. It's an extremely long game, and I've already gone through like one of the endings, so I'm already spoiled on a lot of things. So it's gonna be rough for me to actually go through it and completely enjoy it. I do have the game now because, you know, I bought the double pack that has both Chaos Head and Chaos Child, but it's gonna be hard to actually go back to it for me. You know what? I think I'll try out the other endings. I'm gonna follow a guide, one that says like, I think they're actually just called Route A and Route B, and then like individual routes for characters. And some of them might be easier to get, some of them might be harder. Maybe I'll make multiple save slots to make it so that I don't have to replay the entire thing. I'm not exactly sure how this works, but I'll give that a try. But yeah, I've said a lot about what I thought about this game, probably for like a good solid 15 minutes. Yeah, but to summarize, the characters were questionable. I enjoyed the story overall. I thought it was very interesting, especially with the murders. Sound design, I was kind of on, as well as the graphics. There wasn't really anything that stood out to me. Yeah, that kind of summarizes it in terms of like a scoring list. But yeah, we'll continue with, I guess, the next ending or the next route next time. And until then, I will be seeing you. See ya!